Thousands of people are being forced from their homes as one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the Philippines begins to stir again. Mayon Volcano, infamous for its perfect cone and deadly history, is acting up, and not in a vague, maybe it's nothing kind of way. We're talking pyroclastic flows, the kind of flows that don't give you time to think, just to run now, surging down its slopes. Lava is steadily oozing from the crater, and the ground itself is shifting. Around 3,500 residents have already been evacuated, and that number could climb fast.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
The threat isn't a single massive eruption, at least not yet. What's unfolding is more subtle, more prolonged, and potentially just as dangerous. Authorities aren't just reacting to a single explosion. They're responding to a sustained geological tantrum that could tip over into catastrophe without much warning. Because once Mayon starts moving, it doesn't stop politely. The biggest threat right now: pyroclastic flows, dense, fast-moving currents of scorching gas, ash, and rock that pour down the volcano's flanks at speeds that make escape nearly impossible once they're underway. You don't outrun them. You don't wait to see them. You leave before they start. That's why officials expanded the danger zones to 6 kilometers and ordered evacuations from high-risk areas immediately. They're not taking chances because history has shown what happens when people do. Mayon is not a gentle volcano. This isn't a dormant mountain that stirs once a century. It has erupted more than 50 times in recorded history. One of the deadliest was in 1814, when a powerful blast buried entire towns and killed more than 1,200 people. That wasn't a fluke. That was Mayon doing what Mayon does. And it follows patterns: flowing lava, then sudden dome collapses, then surging pyroclastic hell, over and over again. What makes Mayon especially dangerous isn't just what it spews, it's how it's built. That iconic, postcard-ready cone shape, a hazard. Its nearly symmetrical geometry and deep radial gullies act like express lanes for destruction. When pyroclastic flows start, those gullies funnel the debris straight toward nearby communities. The very shape that draws tourists is also what channels death toward the valley below. Now, let's talk about what's happening beneath the surface. The warning signs aren't subtle. Scientists are detecting continuous ground deformation. Yes, the literal ground is changing shape. There are steady emissions of volcanic gas, including sulfur dioxide, which points to magma rising closer to the surface. There's a persistent glow at the summit, indicating ongoing lava extrusion. And there's seismic activity, small earthquakes that signal movement underground. All of this points to a volcano that's not just restless, it's active. It's producing visible lava flows, pushing material outward, and feeding pressure beneath the surface. But here's the twist: there's no sign of an imminent, explosive eruption. Yet, that's what makes this situation so tense. It's a slow burn crisis. And with volcanoes, slow burn doesn't mean less dangerous. It just means the clock is ticking, and no one knows when it hits zero. This is exactly why authorities and scientists are working overtime to track every detail. Monitoring Mayon isn't just about looking for smoke. It's a full-on data operation. A network of sensors measures seismic activity, gas emissions, ground deformation, and visual cues. Each parameter adds another piece to the puzzle, another clue to how the magma system is evolving. Right now, they're watching for signs that could indicate a shift from steady activity to something more violent. There are 3 main scenarios on the table. The first: things continue as they are. Lava slowly extrudes, pressure stays manageable, and evacuation zones remain stable. This would still be dangerous, but it's the best-case outcome. The second scenario: intermittent explosions caused by bursts of gas pressure building inside the volcano. These could produce stronger, short-lived pyroclastic flows, still serious, but somewhat contained. And then there's the third scenario, the worst one: a large-scale collapse of the lava dome at the summit. That could trigger massive pyroclastic flows, moving faster and reaching farther than anything seen so far. This is the kind of event that historically causes devastation. It's rare, but not impossible. And given the current signs, it's something no one's ruling out. This is why early evacuation is non-negotiable. Once pyroclastic flows begin, there is no time. You cannot wait to see how bad it gets. You leave because you might not get another chance. Authorities are treating this as a fluid situation, emphasis on the word fluid, because volcanic behavior doesn't follow human schedules. And here's where preparedness really matters. Moving thousands of people on short notice isn't simple. We're talking about evacuating entire communities, livestock, supplies, and emergency resources.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
And it's not a one-day operation. These people may be displaced for weeks, possibly longer, depending on how Mayon behaves. There's no back to normal date with volcanoes. The uncertainty itself becomes the crisis. It's not just physical logistics either. There's a psychological cost. People are leaving behind their homes, not knowing if they'll come back to them. Businesses are paused. Kids are out of school. Daily life is thrown into limbo because a mountain decided to wake up. And yet, the response so far has been considered a model for volcanic risk management. The early enforcement of the danger zone, the clear evacuation orders, the deployment of scientific resources. This is what preparedness looks like. It's never perfect, but it's proactive. What makes this all more urgent is the simple fact that Mayon is predictable in one way. When it erupts, it follows its usual flow paths. That should be comforting, right? But it's actually more terrifying. Because those flow paths cut straight through populated areas. That's why the stakes are so high. Even with top-tier monitoring, volcanologists will tell you, there's still no exact way to predict the timing of an eruption. You can measure pressure. You can observe gas levels. You can see the deformation. But when it comes to the precise moment things go off, it's still guesswork. That's what makes this situation so nerve-wracking. You're looking at a volcano that's giving all the right signals, but hasn't made its move yet. The public's trust in that monitoring system is crucial. If people don't believe the warnings or think they can outweigh the danger, the consequences could be catastrophic. That's why communication is everything. Scientists and authorities need to be loud, clear, and consistent. Because in moments like this, mixed messaging costs lives. Right now, the most important takeaway is simple. Even if the volcano doesn't erupt explosively tomorrow, the threat is not over. Pyroclastic flows don't wait for major eruptions. They can occur during what looks like normal lava extrusion. And once they start, you won't see them coming until it's too late. This is a situation where time is the most precious resource and, unfortunately, the least predictable one. So yes, the current signs do not point to a massive eruption happening right this second. But the activity is sustained. The lava is still moving. The gas is still venting. The ground is still shifting. And the mountain is still alive. Authorities aren't reacting to panic. They're responding to data. Real-time monitoring is showing a volcano that's very much in a state of unrest. And when it comes to Mayon, unrest is never just background noise. The broader takeaway: you can have the best equipment, the clearest warning systems, and the most detailed historical records, but volcanoes don't follow scripts. They erupt when they want. The best anyone can do is stay ahead of them, not behind. So if you're watching from afar, this isn't just another natural event. It's a real-time lesson in the power of preparedness, the limits of prediction, and the delicate dance between nature and science. The residents being evacuated aren't just statistics. They're people caught in the path of a mountain that has erupted dozens of times before and will again. The only question is when. If you found this breakdown helpful, or if you're just stunned by how wild and unpredictable nature can be, hit that like button. Share this with someone who still thinks volcanoes are just pretty tourist spots, and drop a comment below. What would you do if you had to evacuate with no guarantee of return? And don't forget to subscribe for more updates and deep dives into the disasters, meltdowns, and messes that remind us we're not the ones in charge. The thing about Mayon is it doesn't have to explode to be deadly. That's the part that trips people up. There's this Hollywood image of volcanoes, sudden, massive eruptions, clouds of ash blotting out the sun, lava pouring into streets. But Mayon doesn't need that spectacle to ruin lives. Its real power lies in what happens when people think they have time. A slow, steady lava flow seems manageable, until it triggers a dome collapse. And when that happens, it's like flipping a switch from manageable to too late. That's what scientists are watching for right now. The quiet buildup, the signals you don't notice until it's over. Ground deformation isn't flashy, but it's critical. The fact that Mayon is changing shape, expanding as magma pushes upward, means it's under pressure. And pressure always wants a release. You know what else doesn't lie? Gas. Sulfur dioxide levels are up. That's not just a random chemical reading. It's volcanic Morse code. It means magma is rising. It's degassing. The volcano is breathing out, telling us what's building inside. And if that gas builds up faster than it can escape, that's when things go boom. But again, it might not. That's the tricky part. All of this activity could just continue at this slow pace. Lava extrusion, gas release, ground swelling, all manageable if nothing else shifts. That's why scientists have to prepare for multiple outcomes at once. They're not saying, this will erupt tomorrow. They're saying, this could escalate fast, and we need to be ready when it does. That's a tough message to sell, especially when there's no dramatic explosion to point to. People get tired. They start to think, well, nothing happened today, maybe we're fine. But Mayon has done this before. It lulls people. It behaves just enough to make you question the warnings. Then, when the system is loaded enough, when the dome weakens, when just the right amount of pressure hits, it releases everything. And the people downhill. They have minutes. If that. This is why the early evacuation of 3,500 residents is so important. It's not overkill. It's survival. Because the danger zone isn't theoretical, it's mapped out based on exactly where flows have gone in past eruptions. Scientists know how far pyroclastic currents can reach, especially with Mayon's slope angle. We're talking 30 degrees steep, enough to send material downhill at terrifying speeds. And those flows aren't like lava. Lava moves slowly, in most cases. You can see it coming. But pyroclastic flows, they're fast. Sometimes over 100 kilometers per hour. They're superheated. You don't get burned. You get obliterated. If you're in their path, you don't stand a chance. Which is why waiting to evacuate is not an option. Let's not forget the shape of the land makes this worse. Mayon's cone is nearly perfect. That symmetry creates natural channels, gullies that look harmless most of the time. But they become slide zones the moment pyroclastic flows begin. The volcano funnels destruction straight into nearby villages. You can predict the direction. You just can't predict the timing. And yet there are still people outside the danger zone who are reluctant to leave. That's not because they're reckless. It's because they've seen Mayon erupt before and survived. That history creates a false sense of security. But just because it didn't kill you last time doesn't mean it won't now. Every eruption is different. The 1814 eruption was catastrophic. It wiped out towns, buried people alive, killed over 1,000. It was the kind of event that leaves a scar not just in the land, but in the cultural memory. The ruins of Kagsawa Church still stand as a reminder of what Mayon is capable of. And yet, over 200 years later, people still hesitate to move, because memory fades, and familiarity breeds risk. That's why this story matters. It's not just about one volcano. It's about the challenge of preparing for disasters that might happen, but haven't yet. It's about trusting science over gut instinct. It's about valuing lives over property, even when it's hard. You can't control Mayon, but you can control how you respond. What the Philippine authorities are doing right now is a textbook example of proactive risk management. They've reinforced the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone. They've mobilized local governments, disaster response teams, and scientific experts to ensure the evacuation process is orderly and informed. They're using real-time monitoring data, not vibes, not guesswork, to guide decisions. And they're doing it with urgency, not panic. They know the stakes. Let's talk about those monitoring systems for a second, because they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Mayon is equipped with a network of sensor seismic instruments, tilt meters, gas spectrometers, thermal cameras. These tools allow scientists to measure changes in the volcano's behavior as they happen. And more importantly, they help create models of what might come next. This multi-parameter monitoring approach isn't just fancy tech, it's essential. One data stream alone isn't enough. You need seismic activity to show movement, gas readings to show degassing, ground deformation to show pressure, visual confirmation to connect it all. It's a full diagnostic check on a mountain that could erupt with little warning. And here's the brutal truth, even with all of that, you still can't predict the exact moment an eruption will occur. Volcanoes don't operate on a timer. They're chaotic systems. But what monitoring can do is give people a head start, enough time to get out of the way. And when it comes to pyroclastic flows, that head start is everything. That's why this isn't just a geological event. It's a human drama. It's thousands of people packing up their lives, not knowing when or if they'll return. It's schools closing, farms abandoned, routines shattered, and all of it in the shadow of a mountain that's done this before, and will do it again. Preparedness in these moments isn't about being alarmist. It's about respect for the science, for the history, and for the power of nature. Because the one thing everyone agrees on, once Mayon starts moving in earnest, you won't be able to stop it. There's also a deeper, global lesson here. Mayon's behavior is a case study in how natural systems warn us subtly, consistently, but not always loudly. The question is whether we're willing to listen before the volume goes up, because when it does, it might be too late to act. The people of Albay province know this risk better than most. They've lived through eruptions before. They've rebuilt. They've learned. But that doesn't make this any easier. Every evacuation takes a toll emotionally, financially, socially. Every time Mayon shows signs of unrest, lives are disrupted. And each time, the question looms, is this the one? For now, scientists continue to monitor. Residents wait. Authorities hold the line. The lava keeps flowing. The ground keeps swelling. The gases keep rising. And the mountain, quiet on the outside, continues its internal conversation, one we're all hoping doesn't end in another violent chapter. Here's the thing no one likes to admit. Most disasters don't come with a countdown. There's no dramatic music, no red flashing timer. Just a slow build of signals, gas emissions creeping up, tremors getting slightly more frequent, the summit glow growing just a bit brighter each night. That's what's happening with Mayon. It's not erupting yet in the Hollywood sense of the word, but it's speaking loud and clear. And the people paying attention, they know exactly what's at stake. The 1814 eruption didn't give people much of a chance either. It wiped out entire communities. That's not ancient history, that's a warning. A clear, historical receipt of what happens when Mayon decides it's done holding back. The exact same gullies that channeled that destruction over 200 years ago are still there, still pointing straight at where people live today. So yeah, it's dramatic, but it's also real. And that's the uncomfortable part. The story isn't over. It's still unfolding quietly, steadily, and with enough tension to keep volcanologists and emergency planners on edge. Every hour Mayon stays active without a full eruption is borrowed time. That might sound extreme, but it's the mindset you need to manage risk. You don't wait for an explosion to decide it's serious. You look at the patterns, the sensors, the ground itself, and you act while you can. And that's exactly what the officials in Albay are doing. They're not guessing. They're following the signs. Because when it comes to volcanoes, decisiveness saves lives. Hesitation costs them. So while the summit glows and the lava creeps and the ground swells inch by inch, the rest of us should be paying attention, not just to the mountain but to the people living beneath it. Their reality right now is uncertainty, tension, and the hope that science, preparation, and timing are enough. If you're watching this, don't just scroll on. Hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and drop a comment below. Should more people be evacuated now, or is it too soon? Let's talk about it, because when the ground starts talking, you better listen. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.